guys, good morning and welcome back to another video. If you're new, hi, my name is Charlie and I'm a writer. I'm currently working on my first draft of a novel that I'm calling Project Daydream. It's got futuristic, dystopian, and enemies to lovers vibes, and it's about an insomnia pandemic that prevents people infected with this virus from being able to sleep for the rest of their lives. Scientists have created a treatment that is, for lack of a better term, sketchy. And if you're infected and you take this treatment and you have a specific genetic mutation, it can actually cause a side effect that enables you to jump into other people's dreams. Basically, there's a murder and my two protagonists are on a mission to figure out how that happened. Anyways, this weekend is going to be super busy. I have a lot of plans. Later on this morning, I'm going to meet my friend Taylor at the farmer's market. It just opened up this weekend. I haven't been to the farmer's market here in my city yet, and so I'm really excited to check that out. And I also have a live stream planned later on with Hannah Grace Fletcher. Her channel will be linked in the description. As you can probably tell, it's going to be a pretty busy Saturday. I have some pretty lofty goals this week as well. In my last writing session, I managed to get up to the 30,000 word mark in my manuscript, and I'm trying to get to 35 this weekend, so I've got a lot of writing to do. So my goals for this weekend are to write 5,000 words and to brainstorm some plot points that are going to be happening in the middle. I'm a headlights writer, so I don't have everything planned out yet, but I thought it would be useful because I'm approaching the part of the draft where I almost always get stuck, and I really want to work through that so that I can finish this draft. There are some things that I've been struggling with in my draft as well, just like struggling with getting into my characters' heads, having their voices sound consistent in my writing. I think that this is something that obviously I can work out in the next draft. So I'm trying really hard not to worry about it. I say this on every vlog. I feel like I'm always getting ahead of myself. It's fine. It's fine. I'm just gonna worry about that later. But I am going to try to work on that a little bit this weekend. I also noticed in my last writing session some more world building inconsistencies. Obviously, this is going to be set in the very distant future, and for some reason, they're still handing out paper pamphlets and keeping important information on like physical documents, which doesn't really make sense in terms of other world building aspects in my story. So I'm going to have to figure out a way to kind of bridge that gap there and make that make more sense. It's like 7 a.m. so I don't have that much time. I'm gonna go ahead and start my brainstorming session, and I will see you guys after the market.
The places that'll be at, you cut through the noise. I wish I knew what you were thinking of. One last drink before it's time to go home. I had my chance, but I screwed it up once more. It's been years and it still kills me.
Okay guys, I am back from the farmer's market, and wow, it was so busy. There were points in time where I felt like I was at a festival or something because it was so packed. Granted, it was the first weekend of the year for the farmer's market in my city, so of course it's going to be busy, but I wasn't expecting it to be that busy, especially since it is kind of chilly today. I did get some stickers. You guys might have seen them in the b-roll. There's an illustrator that lives here in my city. For those of you who are interested in finding out more about her illustrations or maybe ordering something, her name is Maddie Fusco. But anyways, I got this little mushroom sticker. There were so many mushroom stickers. And then this little guy, I got this little guy. I just thought he was cute in his little sweater, and he is drinking something. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but I'm going to play make-believe and pretend that that's coffee. This morning, I did a writing session, as you guys saw. I managed to get 1,170 words. This writing session was interesting. I struggled a lot to get into a flow state, but I finally managed to. I am not super happy with the words that I wrote though. I was kind of just writing them to get the scene out, and it's super, super clunky. I did do a brain dump though, and I managed to work out at least 2 scenes that are gonna need to go in the following chapters. But I think between today's writing session and tomorrow, I should be able to get a good chunk of words done. Right now, my manuscript is sitting at 31,600 words exactly. I don't really have a whole lot to say about it. I'm almost finished with this chapter. I'm like starting to build up into the rising action, which is really exciting. And I think I figured out what the climax is going to be. For those of you guys who don't know, I think I mentioned this briefly earlier, but I really struggled to get through the middle section. And I think that is pretty universal for all writers. The middle section is always the hardest part to write because I know the ending and I know the beginning and some scenes that need to go in. That middle part is really just a huge blank spot for me. Finding a way to connect those dots from the beginning to the end can sometimes feel really daunting and just like incredibly difficult for me. This is usually the part of the book where I give up on writing and I start a new project. I am really trying hard not to do that this time. So doing the brainstorming session earlier really helped to kind of cement in some ideas for future scenes that I can add to get to that point. And I think I've got a really good, clean and clear pathway to get to that climax part. So it's almost 5 o'clock. The stream starts at 6 p.m. my time. I'm co-hosting that, so I'm gonna take a little bit of a writing break right now. I'm gonna take my dog on a walk, get some food, and then I will see you guys for the stream. I don't know if I'll have another writing session afterwards. It depends on how much work I get done during the stream. We'll see, I'm not sure. But I'm gonna go take my dog on a walk, and I will see you guys after the stream.
If you clicked on this video, because I'm aware of what the title is, and you just listened to me spiel about the project that I'm currently working on, you might be thinking, Becca, what the hell do you mean that you're going to start a new project?
Good morning, guys. It's the next day. I wanted to kind of like briefly touch base with you about everything that I did yesterday. I kind of dropped off the face of the planet after my live stream last night, and I completely forgot to film a wrap up for the day. So while I am packing up my backpack, let's talk about all of the things that I did yesterday. And then I actually have a special treat for you at the end. I wrote a really nice paragraph that I want to read to you guys. So you guys are going to get a little excerpt from my first draft, which is a little scary, but it's fine because I'm really proud of the words and it's going to be edited in the end. I just like the general vibe that these words are exhibiting in this paragraph. Essentially, yesterday I wrote a little over 2,800 words. I'll put the exact word count somewhere here up on the screen. I had a really good writing day yesterday. I didn't really write for a long time because I had so much going on, but I kind of left off with my characters coming out of the dream world, and now they have gone to the dream world. They did what they needed to do, and now they're back in the waking world, and they're currently trying to find the information that they found in the dream. One of the character problems happening in this draft, or like their limitations happening in this draft, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this. Apparently you cannot read in your dream, so I'm kind of taking that into play in my draft. They found some information in the murder victim's apartment while they were in the dream world, but they couldn't read it, so they're going back into the waking world to go verify that information and try to get their hands on it. But they're gonna run into a little bit of a problem, and I've kind of written up to that point. In total, yesterday, a little bit over 2,800 words. I finished a chapter and I started a new one, and that is what I'm gonna be working on today. I do wanna do another 2,500 words today though, so I better get going. I'm gonna go ahead and pack you guys up, and I will see you guys at Holly's.
Come a little closer. I wanna dance with you. Everything's moving slower. I don't know what it is you do. I've been looking at you all night, trying to figure you out. I just wanna make you smile. Hold your hand in my hand, looking at the sunset. Man, you're looking good tonight. I wanna kiss you before the sun goes down. It's what you're doing, making me feel like I'm falling. And when you're moving, I can hear my calling. There's no one else here that I see.
Good morning. It is Tuesday the 6th, I believe, of May, and I totally just crashed out after my writing session on Sunday, so I didn't film anything afterwards. It was a really long day at Holly's. I forgot my little clip thing to my tripod, so I kind of had to improvise, which is why some of the shots might have looked a little bit weird in my B-roll. And then Holly also has like an issue with snakes in her yard, and there were like 4 or 5 snakes. that we had to evacuate from her backyard. They're just garter snakes, but by the time I got home, I was just kind of like lacking energy. I didn't really feel like filming. And then yesterday, it was Monday, I had so much going on, so I didn't film anything yesterday. And no, I did not make it to 5K. I ended up getting to 4,318 words, which I am actually really proud of. I did about 1,400 words in Anna New and Brielle Wright's live stream the other day. And then yesterday I just kind of like crashed out. I am still wanting to like do some words, and I feel like this vlog is just like not finished yet. So I'm gonna be doing a little writing session this morning before I have to pop onto work. It's currently 6 a.m. so good morning. I hope you have a great Tuesday and a great rest of the week, since this is probably going to be the last day of the vlog. So I am going to do a quick little journal session, and we are going to do some writing sprints. I think I have enough time to write for probably like an hour and a half because I'm already dressed and ready to go, and I don't start work till 8 a.m. So let's get to it. Good morning and welcome to the next day. Yesterday did not go according to my plans at all. What I really wanted to do yesterday was do that morning writing session, maybe an evening writing session, and then tell you guys a little bit about how I felt about what was going on in my project, give you guys some project updates, but I kind of started feeling a little ill towards the end of the evening, and I had some personal stuff going on that I needed to deal with. So I am here this morning to kind of give you the little outro to this video, tell you guys where I'm at, and also read that excerpt that I promised that I would read to you. I hope you're excited for that. We had a live stream on Saturday, and I wrote a paragraph, well, 2 paragraphs really, that I'm really happy with, and I wanted to share those with you. It doesn't give away any details or anything, but it will give you some insight into how my characters are currently feeling about each other, or at least how Kai is feeling about Alyssa at the moment. I did manage to break 5,000 words this week so far, which I'm really happy with. That was my goal for the weekend, and I almost made it. I was like about 600 words away. Yesterday in that morning writing session, I got down 752 words, which makes my total amount like 570 words. I think I also did add a couple of words yesterday evening when I was going back to kind of copy and paste that excerpt that I'm going to read to you guys. I just saw some things that I wanted to change really quickly to make it flow better. So I did add a few words to that, but it was only like 4 or 5 words, I think. That being said, my manuscript right now is at 35,500 words, which means I am 4,500 words away from the midway point in my novel. This draft is meant to be 80,000 words, so I'm almost to the halfway mark, which seems kind of crazy to me because, and I know I've kind of talked about this in other vlogs, but if you're new here, I did take quite a long break from writing and from doing YouTube last year. I was just going through a hard time. When I left off, I was at around 16,000 words. I know the progress seems kind of slow, but I'm not writing every day, so I'm pretty happy with where I'm at right now, and I have a very clear picture of what's going to happen next, which is fantastic because I was kind of worried about that for a second. Like, I was struggling a little bit earlier in April to figure out what was going on in my story. I think part of that was probably me just like coming back to the draft and like starting to work on it again. Another part of that was like, where is this story going? Since I'm not plotting it, I wasn't really sure. I had to do some brainstorming, and I got some pretty good ideas from that brainstorming session. I actually think that it's been really helpful for me to do that every day before I start writing. I think I might keep doing that, and maybe this makes me more of a plantser. I don't know, because I'm not really outlining anything, and these are all subject to change if I feel like it doesn't fit with where I want my story to go. I still don't have a clear picture of the end, although I have some inklings percolating in my brain right now. Let's do some like writing updates. I feel like I haven't really talked about my whip at all this whole vlog. In the last update, I think I left off writing in chapter 22, I believe, but I hadn't finished it. Basically, my characters are currently gathering clues for what happened at the beginning of the book. They're working with some limitations because Alyssa has been suspended from the police department, so she can't get into the database and look at evidence or use her police status to like question people. And so what Kai and Alyssa are doing is they're like going into the dream world to try to find clues in people's subconscious. And the next thing that's going to happen in my story is they have to do a B&E into a very dangerous place. I'm kind of like ramping up the tension, ramping up the suspense. I am approaching what would be considered the midpoint in the story, and I'm really happy that I can actually see the string of plot that I've kind of weaved in through the last like nearly year since I started working on this project. I was a little bit worried that it wouldn't function as a full story. It's a worry to me that when I get to the end and write the end on my story, that when I go back to reread it, there's no plot and it's just like a bunch of things happening to my characters and it doesn't really make sense in terms of a story. And now that I'm approaching this place, I can actually see that storyline kind of arching through up to where I am at right now and up to the midpoint, which is something that I haven't yet started to write. And I am also really enjoying trying to string in the relationships my characters have and are building. Even though this has some sort of like romance subplot, I'm not really seeing that being reflected the way that I want it to be reflected in my draft. I think right now I'm so focused on just making sure that I'm getting the words out, that I'm not really focusing too much on my character relationships. There's a little bit here and there weaved in, and I definitely am going to have to go back and strengthen that chord. Right now it's not super strong, except this excerpt that I have written that I'm gonna read to you guys. This is first draft, so I appreciate no judgment. Which I'm sure that there will be, but it's fine. I wanted to read this to you guys because I feel like I haven't shared any excerpts at all. Part of the reason for that is because it's first draft and I don't really want to share excerpts with you guys in the first draft. I feel like that's going to be more of a draft 2 thing after I've started, or even a draft 3 thing after I've started revising and editing and like making everything pretty. But this paragraph specifically, I was already really happy with. It kind of captures the overall tone of their romance and, in my opinion, the themes of their romance, wanting to be close but showing restraint. I'll also put it up on the screen somewhere for you guys to see. I'm nervous. They walked in silence for what felt like eternity, brushing against each other's shoulders on the crowded sidewalk. Kai slowed his pace, walking just a step behind her. It didn't bother him, he realized. In fact, when he thought about it, he quite liked walking as close to her as possible, especially when the wind carried the scent of her sweet perfume with it as it blew past. He let his mind drift to the dreamscape and to the moment they first laid eyes on each other. He thought of the way her eyes softened a bit when he spoke, and later how they'd held onto each other when everything began to fall apart. He wondered what it would be like if she let him hold her hand, just once while they were awake. The dreamscape had whittled them down into the most simple versions of themselves until all that remained was the core of who they were, without a lifetime of trauma and the echo of inconvenience on their consciousness. They could only do and say what was in their heart. He didn't stop to wonder what that meant for him. Instead, he picked up the pace a little, deciding once and for all that he could walk next to her. And if she didn't like it, he knew she was strong enough and bold enough to say so. Anyways, I'm really excited about that paragraph. You might have picked this up when he says he didn't stop to wonder what that meant for him. If you're new here, and I think most of my viewers already know, at the very beginning of the book, there is a murder that takes place in the dream world, which then is like mirrored in real life. The person who died in the dream world dies in real life. Kai happened to be there and he believes himself to be the killer. This person who died in real life is actually Alyssa's sister. There's very complicated feelings for him specifically surrounding their relationship, which is why I added in he didn't stop to wonder what that meant for him, because he's kind of playing with this idea that maybe he's not a good person, and that is kind of heartbreaking for him, and he doesn't want to like let that get in the way of how he feels, but it's also been up to this point in the book stopping him from doing what he really wants. So let me know what you guys thought about that in the comments. This was a very interesting, and I'm sure this is probably going to be a very chaotic vlog for me to make anyways, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you've made it this far, leave a bird emoji in the comments. If you liked today's video, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe maybe if you want to. As always, I appreciate you, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!